Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Front Door Show, brought to you by Four Fantastic Events. I'm your host, DJ Prieto. And every day, Monday through Thursday now, because we changed the hours on it, I do this show where I interview people from the music industry, producers, DJs, promoters. And today I have my boy DJ Skip, Shannon Sias. How you doing, Shannon?
What's up, Prieto? How you doing, brother? I'm cool.
Good. So we get people that join it, and one of the cool things is that people are going to be able to look at this video, replay it, and see from the beginning in case they missed the beginning part.
That's awesome.
So do me a favor. Why don't you just introduce yourself, tell them who you are, any websites, any affiliations to, and then while you're doing that, I'm going to be sharing it on my end and doing what I got to do with my end.
Okay, good deal. Well, for the people that don't know me, my name is Shannon Sias. A lot of folks know me as Skip or DJ Skip, music producer, remixer, DJ. Also partners with Steve Silcurley and S&S Records. Been around prior to that. Started a few companies prior to. Steve and I, we pretty much created a parent company, S&S Records. And in the interim of that parent company, we brought a lot of our sub brands together and made them subsidiaries of that parent company, which is Ecotron, ID Records, Silk Entertainment, Push Pack, DJ World, and the list goes on. So kind of got our hands in quite a few things. But, I guess Shannon Sias during the day and DJ Skip at night in the clubs, I guess.
So the first question I'm going to ask, and the most obvious question I think, I'm going to ask is, because I've known you for a while, why DJ Skip?
You know what? That's an interesting name. It's actually a name that stuck. It's my nickname, believe it or not. My family, they always call me Skip, since I was young. And it just turned out, as I got into music and started DJing, it was just a natural thing, to just add the DJ in the front of it prior to me producing and making records. So when I started doing records, Skip just didn't ring. And, I said, you know what, I'll just throw the DJ in the front and, jump on the turntables and just go that route. So believe it or not, that's how it turned out to be. But Skip is pretty much my name. Everyone for as long as I've known has always called me Skip.
All right. So you talk about family, I'll call you Skip, but that's where
there you go. Absolutely.
It was Skip before it was DJ, right?
Exactly. That's it.
All right. So let's talk about the beginning. How old were you when you first got interested into the music?
You know what? I was young, man. You know what? I was a teenager, believe it or not. I was in high school. I had a guy that lived in the neighborhood, and in the interim, he, was a young guy, a guy by the name of Gant, believe it or not, Gant Wilson. They called him DJ Gant Man, and he was one of the youngest.
Wait, Gant Man, the mixtape guy.
Gant Man, the mixtape guy. Yeah, he was one of the young. That's what his moniker was, the youngest professional DJ. He lived around the corner, right on the next block. But he was going up to WKKC DJing with Nathis, Jana Rush, Pink House back in the day. And I mean, he was a young guy, and he was just that guy in the hood that would always hang out. And every Saturday morning we see him hopping on the bus heading up to WKKC to mix, and it caught our interest because everyone in the neighborhood would listen to the music, and it was just something that was infectious. Once it breaks, and it takes a hold of you, the rest is kind of history.
So I'm not gonna guess because you always to me you never age. But about what year was this that you were?
You know what, that was the early 90s. I mean, that wasn't, a lot of people laugh about that. That was the early 90s. I don't go back as far as a lot of the other guys. I feel like I have, just because I've been doing it for so long. But that was the early 90s stage when all of this was happening.
Okay, but Gantman was more of a was it house funk that he was doing? What was the music that he was?
He was doing ghetto house. Yeah, ghetto house.
Okay.
Yep, ghetto house, which then transitioned into juke. And believe it or not, my first 13 records that I ever released were ghetto house records, believe it or not.
Okay, all right. So I mean, because you just had that that kind of format that you knew about the music and that they were basically. So you got interested in DJing. Did you pick up a turntable or did you pick up producing first? What
You
did
you
you
know,
do first?
it's funny. I started producing first. I
Okay,
think before I ever even touched a pair of turntables, I was already 6 or 7 records in. And
okay,
what led me to DJing was the fact that these records started to become popular. For the people out there that know ghetto house and ghetto house music, you know, we were really touching these neighborhoods and touching the youth. And it got to a place where folks wanted to see this guy that was making the music, and it was just a turn of the tail. Is, hey, we want to book this guy. Now the requests started coming in. Now people wanted to get me out to these events, and for me to kind of do my thing. And it's weird because I was just content with being in the studio making music for a lot of the guys, or even for myself. And it got to a place where now I had to transition, and that's what I've always tried to do in my career. Is I start one thing, and I feel like as if I progress in that and just transition to the next phase of it.
okay. Well, and not to take away from anything you and
Yeah,
Gantland, but there was another producer that was, or record producer that was doing a lot of ghetto house, and that was DJ Funk, right? That's where he was synonymous with the that music. Am I correct?
that's
That was
absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, and Funk was doing some fantastic records. He was from the West Side. You had Funk, Jam and Drill, Wax Master,
yeah.
and quite a few other guys. I don't want to leave nobody out. And then you had the South Side guys, which were, DJ Dion, DJ Milton, Sluggo, Gant, obviously, Littell, myself, and the list goes on. There's so many people. So please forgive me, fellas. I respect all of y'all. It's just, so many guys that played a role and added their imprint, and really created that movement, what you call ghetto house.
Let me, and also let me interject this part. Um, Obviously, me coming from little village, and there's a lot of DJs came from village, and us
Mhm.
Latin DJs basically, or we got into the DJ aspect of it because it was the opposite of trying to be in the gangs, or just it just gave us support. Did you guys do the same thing on the south side and the west side as far as the ghetto producing music? Was that your way of like getting away from that whole, that aspect of it?
You know what and I think for some of the guys it possibly was. I believe house music as a whole, not just ghetto house, but just the music genre as a whole, I think it saved a lot of those guys' lives. Myself, I was always a creative guy, and I was also a product of my environment. So the type of music that I was making, I was just pretty much broadcasting from, either my personal perspective or from a third party perspective, because I was, moving around and doing different things and seeing so many different things. So just because you know, me being entrenched in that community, I was able to really make music that I felt folks could relate to. And maybe that's why it caught on, and maybe that's why it kind of took form the way that it did. So yeah, I mean, it allowed me um to not get entangled in a lot of the stuff that was going on during that period of time. But yeah, for some of those guys, they were really living that stuff. They were actually in the street. They were actually, doing a lot of things that I don't want to, put out there, but it was real. A lot of those mixtapes, a lot of the records that you would hear, a lot of the lifestyle stuff, they were really living it, which gave that music that much more authenticity and gave it an edge where people felt like they could relate to it. They could, because it was a lot of folks in their real lives. Our music per se and the stuff that I was rapping about, I wasn't in the street like that, but I was living in an urban community on the south side of Chicago.
Right,
So
right,
I was able to project that, in my music, and folks related to it.
right. And that's why, because I know that I would say Pilsen, Little Village for us, and obviously being in the music industry, you run into bunch of the same guys, and we all kind of like,
Mm.
okay, we're in the music industry. It's not that kind of crowd, but I remember in the younger years, and I remember that because it kind of like, and I'm going to take it to my personal experience. If
Mhm.
a, a game banger would come up to me and I said, "No, man, I'm DJ Angelo pumping pretty," and they're like, "Oh, okay," then it was be like, "Okay, he's the DJ. We leave him alone," because they
Right.
knew that we were, oh, I jammed to your tapes, I jammed to your music and stuff like that. So that was kind of things that would happen with me when it comes to guys that really like, what you be about? I'm a DJ, man. That's all I have. So did you ever run into that situation where,
Oh, oh, absolutely. I mean, it was weird. I mean, everybody in the street, you got to think when we were doing those mixtapes, you would meet a lot of those guys that had different types of influence throughout the city of Chicago. I would go press up 1,000 tapes in Lombard at a place called ATV, come back with 1,000 tapes, and it was game time. One tape, 1,000 tapes for $1,000, $10 a tape. You do the math, and then when you blow through, 3,000, 5,000 tapes in a summer, the numbers look good. So I was able to continue to reinvest and put more out. And the more that I put out, the more popular I become. And you start knowing people and they start to respect you. And the fact that I
right,
wasn't mixed up in anything in the street, that made a lot of the street guys protect me that much more, because they felt like, man, this guy, he created an opportunity, and he's an example of he's a product of us. You know what I mean?
right,
So we want to
right,
make
right,
sure that he's cool. We want to make sure that he's able to continue to do what he's doing, because he getting the opportunity to represent for not just himself, but for all of us. And I've always held that high and put it on my back and on my shoulders. I mean, you see my shirt. I rep Chicago to the day I die. That's where I'm from. That's what I'm about. So from the beginning, even up until now, that's what I've always stood for. And when you say Chicago, that's all of us. That's
right.
every community that's doing music, because we're all bound by the same common thread. If you get cut and I get cut, we both bleed red. That's a common color. Money
Right.
gonna always be green, regardless of your view or my view. So it's just about, like we just put the project out, peace, love, unity, and respect. I've always kind of given that same level of respect and courtesy as I choose to want to always receive in return.
Right. And I'm sure that you had young people looking at you too, looking at you and saying, this is when I mean younger, the
Right.
12, 13-year olds looking at you and saying, "Oh man, he's making something of himself." So you become sort of a, role model.
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to lead by example, man, and I wanted to leave more of a mark uh, for not just myself, but even for the guys that was around me. And I wanted to take it in a direction or go a little bit further. The music that started off creating was a stepping stone, and it was an opportunity and a foot in the door for me to really express myself creatively. But I've always been a business guy. I've always saw the bigger picture. I mean, even early on, speaking about those mixtapes, those numbers made sense to me. 1,000 tapes for $1,000, and you can sell them for $10 a tape. Those numbers add up. And now I had to figure out how to franchise and really branch out and do it in a different type of a way, to not just know that end of the math, but also to teach that part of the game to some of the other folks, so that they can also
Right.
achieve that same level of success.
A lot of people don't understand. I mean, because and I'm sure they shouldn't understand because they're not part of that game. But we would make mixtapes to make money for studio product. That was kind of
Right,
it was
right,
it was one thing to do another, and then the other thing was to do another. That's how it came. It's like leaves on a tree. We basically are making that to build a bigger mound of what we're doing. That's the business of it.
right.
So I mean, so when you let's say you brought out your first record, or it was your first record. Did you do it right on a record, or did you do it on a mixtape, or how did you? What was your first?
Well, I mean, the first professional recording, yeah, obviously it was on vinyl.
Okay,
However, the pre-masters or all of the pre-recordings, yeah, we were recording that stuff directly to anything we could. I remember back in the day, this was before, because I come from a setup where I didn't start off with the big equipment, you know. I
right,
didn't
right,
have, all of the tracks in the whole 9 yards. I had, the bare minimum. I had a mixer. I had a 505 that I got from West Green. I had a MS1 sampler. I had a 660, a R70, and I had all that stuff midied up together. And in the interim, we were recording sometime, remember back in the day, you had the metal tapes and the high bias and the whole 9 yards. We're going there, and then that's when they came out with the whole, what was the freaking thing? Crap! It was a hard disk recorder that
right,
we were
right, right.
using, and it got to a
That,
place.
that was after the 4 track had came.
This was definitely after the. This is definitely after the 4 track. This is definitely after the 4 track. Like at that time, but it was after the 4 track, but not digital yet. We were still
Right.
analog as all could get out. We were still midiing up stuff, man. And it got to a place where that was. Those were humble times, because I can't believe the stuff that we're doing now and how technical everything is. Because who would ever saw this part of it coming?
Well, I remember when I first did my studio here, this where I'm at right now. Um, I got Albatron. That was the first program I had, and I was like, oh, and doing MIDI for the first time. I was like, oh, okay, this is how this works. I didn't, obviously hooking up a piano, hooking it up with the 606, and doing all this stuff. And I was just like, it was amazing, but I didn't go that direction where you did. You went into more. I just stuck with the DJ part of it, and
Yep.
and it's a lot of work, and I know it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of out in the studio till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and you forget about daylight and everything else that's
Well,
happening.
yeah, when you passionate and you're enthusiastic about it, and when like I said, once I got that DAT machine and I was able to really sequence and get my ideas down, and with that MPC, the rest was history. And I never forget, man, taking those DATs and taking them down that array. Because first record I ever put out was on Dance Mania with Ray Barney,
Ray
and
Barney on
yeah,
Ogden Avenue.
yep. Well, he was on Roosevelt Road at that point. Yeah, he
Oh
was
yeah,
on
okay.
Ogden. Yeah, he was on Roosevelt, and taking it down there and just having a conversation with the guy. And and I love the conversation we had, because even when I first met him, I always kind of had a clear idea of exactly what direction I wanted to go professionally. I more so wanted to come in as a partner opposed to going in just as an artist. So everything that I had done from record number one all the way, to the end of our relationship, also included my production company name in association with Dance Mania. So to answer your question in return, I would go down there, take a DAT to him. We used a guy named Mark at Metropolis Mastering, 6400 North Devon. And it was weird because we would go down there. Ray, decided that this was a project that he was willing to get behind and support.
Right.
We'll go there, we'll pick up a blank check, believe it or not, take this blank check to this guy, Mark. I don't know how much he wrote in the check. I mean, they had whatever worked out. Take that blank check over, and we go get our record mastered. Mark send the mastering out, and next thing you know, he cut the lacquer, send the lacquer out to mass produce, and then we wait on the test press and then the records to come back. And that happened for me, quite a few times. And all due respect to Ray Barney too, just to shout him out in this conversation, because um he really showed a young dude love, and he gave me an opportunity to really uh operate and see things from the back end also, and to really grow and realize, and really sharpen my vision and allow me to dream that much more. and to really pursue my dream and my goal, of what I've already set in my head. I just knew that there was a bigger picture to it,
I
in the
and I
intramural.
believe I believe correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where I first met you was with Ray Barney. That
What
was
you know,
way. That was because I was selling my mixtapes to him, and I would go to inside the store there, and I think that was where I first met you.
I
That was
think it is. And then the second go round was with Caesar. Respect the CZR, Caesar Hernandez,
right.
really good friend of mine. Caesar and I hang out all the time. And you were having an event. It was downtown, I think right around the corner from where Carnival is. There was a little spot that you had. And he was like, man, we're gonna go by my man Prieto's spot. And I think that's when we actually got the opportunity to really hang
Right,
out a little bit and really,
right.
enjoy it. And I like to say thank you, man, because you were so gracious and such a fantastic host to Caesar and I both, and always have been. And it's cool because Caesar and I are genuine friends. You need know even outside of the music, and so anybody that's a friend of his is kind of a friend of mine, and he know my energy and the type of person that I am. And so when we go to these places, he'll say, this guy's cool, and these are my people. So let's roll. And I always would, because and the energy was never off. So man, we appreciate that love. And you and I, we didn't know each other like that.
No
We
problem.
we,
And
we
I've known, right. I
wow.
was going to say, I've known Caesar since he was 12 years old. I don't know if you know that. So
See,
I had,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So you're like for real part of his family.
well, if you watch his interview, we talk about that, how he used to practice on my vinyl when I at the time I think I was 21, 22, and he used to go when he used to be one of the guys that would help clean the club
Hmm.
bar, um, and he would be up DJing. And I caught him one day playing on my records and stuff like that. And and he goes, "Oh no," he goes, "I'm taking care of them." I said, "No, I don't care as long as you're doing it right." And obviously, I never had a problem with him, but that's how used to practice on my records because I had my turntables there, my records, and everything there, and he would just be learning. And we talked about it in our interview. So yeah, Caesar and I go way back, way
Wow.
back. I mean, my God, way back. So that's how. So when he brought you along, but I was trying to figure out when he brought you that day how I met you, but I want to believe that it was a Ray Barney store that I was there because I used to talk to Ray all the time about the business as well, and we used to
Right.
talk about, and I had just busted out with my first Latin mixtape, and that was me and Ray were talking about it because it was discussion about because I used to buy records there too, but I
Hmm.
didn't get into I stopped doing the dance music and the house music, and I got into the Latin music. And he was always curious about it. So he goes, "Oh, how did you get into this?" And he knew I didn't speak Spanish, so I was like,
Right.
and I remember and there would be so many guys walking into the place. I just remember and he's always introduced me. "Oh, this is him. This is him. This is him." I remember walking in George's music shop over there on was it Madison Street?
Yeah. Well, at the George shop that I knew, that was on Roosevelt too, but further down, further west of
Okay,
where
Roosevelt. Yeah.
where
So
yep.
right. So the same thing. When I used to go in there, I used to run into a bunch of the guys and stuff like that, and they always asking curious about how do you do it in your business or your realm of music and stuff like that. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I make flyers like this, and this is what I do. I do and doing the marketing." That was one of the things that I guess was a little different for me because I did a lot of guys didn't do marketing.
Right.
Um, that was I guess that was one of the things that I kind of did differently because I was up against the wall with it because of the language barrier. That was
Right.
my. So after making when you got in partnership with Ray? Is that it? Or Ray got in partnership with you? Is that how?
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, I knew Ray Barney was putting these records out. You know, I was on the south side of Chicago in a bedroom making records. I piled up so many records after a while. You know, Gant was putting out records on the label, Latal was putting out records on the label. So a lot of the guys from the neighborhood who I knew, you know, had this outlet and they were putting out records. And, you know, I just decided to be proactive with them myself and take some of the stuff up there and kind of throw it out there and see what happens, you know. I went up there and, you know, I think in a lot of cases it was, you know, quantity over quality sometime, but I I still appreciate those early releases because the world got the opportunity to hear my sound develop and they got a chance to watch me grow. But I've always been a concept guy. So, you know, even though the equipment that we were using or that I was using at that time was pieced up equipment and probably wasn't getting the best quality or the best sound, it was what I had. And it just goes to show where you can go from A to B. You know what I mean? You got to work with what you got and you got to just kind
Mhm.
of make it do what it do. And you know, I was happy and grateful that Ray understood and he saw the vision. And when I went up there, I know he was a little thrown back because I always went in with the idea that, hey, even though I haven't released the record, even though we've never done any type of business, I haven't made you any money or no big deal, you know, I still have a different mindset because, you know, I want to grow from an executive standpoint outside of just being an artist, you know.
Right.
So
So,
the artist run was just me setting the situation up to really promote and market the business and my company's brand because I've always been that guy, you know, where I've always tried to take a note of how to market and promote the brands associated as much as possible. And I just got to a place where, you know, when Ray and I were doing business, it was great, but I was getting so much of a outpour for the music around the world in different territories that it got to a place where you know it made sense for me to just have my own imprint, but didn't want to go left on Ray. So I did my pushback imprint with Dance Mania, but fortunately I was able to be the predominant name on that on that package. And that's just because of the relationship that we've established. And he
right.
knew that it was something that could really work. And you know, it got to a place where I think I had grown. I did my last record with him that was called Revolution, I believe, and it wasn't ghetto house. It was just more tracky stuff. And that's when I moved in the realm of doing some other stuff. Had 3 distribution deals out of Europe, and then I was off to the races. It was on after that. It was, it was, it was, it was.
So,
That was a good time.
well, and so as a producer, and uh, when you get, I guess, worldwide exposure. Yeah, this is become worldwide exposure. What was your first record on that you can kind of say that was the that hit that mark?
That hit that mark as far as like a global appeal. Well,
Yes, yes, yes.
we're doing underground records, you know, like
Okay,
crazy, you know. So a lot of those records they weren't commercial pop records or big
okay,
tunes. Those records were more, you know, underground staples. You know, my first commercial record that really took off and hit big was that "Show Me You Love Me." That was a different record because it was pretty pop, you know, but it took a global, you know, it took global by storm. But back then, you know, remember I was a ghetto house guy and then I was just making tracks. So I had done music on multiple labels, you know, and I was more concentrated on promoting and marketing other artists and giving them a platform, you know, outside of myself. So I had a distribution deal with a company called Venus out of France, and then another distribution deal with a company called Discograph. And at that point in time, when I was working with both of those companies, my goal was to really help establish, other artists so that they'll get the opportunity to shine. Funny
Right.
story, a guy named Umit, huge guy right now in the dance EDM world. A lot of people possibly know him. He's a techno guy, tech house. And I remember connecting with those guys in Miami early on and just sitting down with them and saying, hey guys, I can't give you the same thing these other companies can, but what I can offer you is something that I think that the other companies probably won't ever give you. And that's my hand in friendship that we'll be connected, you know, forever. And it's funny because that was the deal they decided to go with. And him and another counterpart by the name of DJ Sharp, um, they took a chance on me. I took a chance on them, and the rest was history. And to this day, we're still really good friends. And now Omik is a mega star, out here, and it makes me happy to see that. You know what I mean? It does, because they were always solid
Right.
guys. They always stuck to the course, and it was a family thing. I really believed in their ability and their talent to really blow, and that's what was important to me. I've an opportunity to other people.
Right. I was going to say, that was in at the music conference, at Winter Music Conference, when you met up with these guys in Miami.
When I met up with them, yeah, I connected with them and quite a few other folks. A guy named David Durier out of Paris, France. He and I started a series called Connection EPs, and it was kind of cool because what I wanted to do was like a connection in every country. So I got with Euro 13 out of Helsinki, David Durier out of Paris, France, um, and just started connecting the dots. And the rest was history. The Trouble Men out of Paris, France, which was Bruno Banner and DJ Fudge. And I just started working those angles and focusing my attention in Europe. And the reason I did that because, you know, I'm also a fan of music as well as an enthusiast. So when I was purchasing records here in the United States at the Hot Jams and the Gramophones and all of these different stores, um, I noticed the scheme of the business behind it. $6.99 for the domestic stuff and $11.99 for the imports. But at that point in time, Europe was huge, for dance music. It hadn't exploded in the States heavy like it is now. So my thought process was, why why do these records on these European labels get them imported back to Chicago, where they get charged more uh more money, you know, when the majority of my consumer base is in Europe. So I just thought that that made more sense to me, where they'll come back to the States at 11.99, and then they'll be 6.99 over in Europe. But now I'm gonna do 2 to 3 times more sales because it's a better price for the people who's consuming it the most. You see
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So it
Right.
was just a different way of thinking about it. And to manufacture and distribute out of Europe, but being a Chicago company, that was a little different too at that time, because people weren't thinking that far out the box. They was, still taking records down the road.
I was going to say, what year was this that you were doing all this?
This was like 95.
Oh wow, that was only that was quick.
Yeah, yeah. I get right to it, man. It didn't take me long to figure it out. Once I figure it out, I'm off to the races. You show me where to go, and I'm gonna go get it done. When
That
they
was
showed me that guy Jordan out there at ATV, and they said 1,000 takes for $1,000, man. Listen, I'll map quest it. Remember, that was the map quest days. I'll map quest it. I'll get out there. Just tell me how I need to move forward, and that's what I would do. Yeah, I was always a go getter, man. I'm a communicator. I like connecting the dots with people and really getting to know them and doing straight up business with them. And it always is worked out for me in a
right.
good way.
And then what? Um, So you're selling more, I guess, than you're doing here in Chicago, right? You're selling
Mhm.
more out there. How long is that consistently going on for? Is that for how many years are you
I
basically
mean,
doing that?
man, that was going on for a while. That went on for at least, 5, 6 years strong. But
Okay,
then in the interim of that, I was touring like crazy.
okay,
I mean, every weekend I was gone, from to Thursday to Monday, I was gone every single week. I would live. It's funny too, because between Marina and all of those guys and Andre and just the few people in the record shops. I mean, I was in there every week because that was in a day where you couldn't burn out records, where you had to have fresh music every time you played. That was in the day of actually breaking records and not just recycling them. We didn't just it wasn't just play the hits. It was, every time you show up, because you got to think I'm playing every week, every weekend. So they wanted to hear something fresh and new. You almost would look that funny if you played those same records you just played last week. You almost came off like you played that last week. What's that? I can't believe you did that, because people were coming for you to more or less educate them and turn them on to new music. They wanted you to be the selector and bring them the music, because they knew that that's who you were. They wanted to hear what you selected and what you picked. And that's why records, I think, during that period of time was selling so crazy, because we were out on the circuit going around the world promoting them. I mean, I bought records courtesy of that. If I hear somebody DJ set that I really enjoyed, and we would be looking over. That's why a lot of guys was white labeling them, because they didn't want us to have the same records. I mean, we all did that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're saying you were touring during this time. Is that when you officially become DJ Skip during this
No,
time?
oh no, DJ Skip happened in the Dance Mania days. That's funny
Okay,
story,
right.
because during that period of time, when I put all those records out and I started to become popular, especially with those mixtapes going out as DJ Skip. Remember, I'm selling, thousands of tapes a summer. So when that happens and you got these raves going on, because that's where I started in the rave scene, um, it was more or less trial and error. I never DJ'd. I had music equipment, but I didn't have turntables and mixers and the whole 9 yards. My first DJ experience was on the fly. I went to an event. It was myself and Paul Johnson, and we went out there, man, and it was a garage. I almost like to think, it was like
In the boondocks.
it was a legit rave party, like in some garage, to the point where we were carrying crates. Then we had crates
Yeah.
of records, and we went out there, and Paul was going to DJ, and I was more so just kind of going with him. And people were, they're like, "Holy cow, you the DJ Skip that made these records." And it was like cool. And Paul was one of those gracious people. He like, "Man, just go jump on. You want to play, go play." Now, mind you, I haven't touched a mixer, you know, turntable, or any of this stuff. I figured, well, I could just go up there and just make this happen. And like I know, that's why I tell people never disrespect the art of DJing, because in a lot of cases not cut and dry like that, because you have to have a technical side of yourself, and you also have to have an ear. And if you're doing it on the fly, sometimes it just won't work out for you. And during that time it just didn't. But what it did was push me to become better. It allowed me to hone my craft and really take it serious, because remember, I was already 6 7 records in. I'm selling records. I was in the music business of selling records. I wasn't in it to be the DJ guy. The
Right, right,
mixtape
right, right.
game was part of the hustle. It's like, look, if I, the numbers look good on the mixtape, so what, I got to give you 60 minutes of content to do 5,000 mixtapes at $10 a tape a summer. I'm in. We'll figure that out. That's an easy fix. So after that, I started working and working, and to this day, believe it or not, I never owned a pair of 1200s, never owned a mixer in my life.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, I mean, but it almost, the DJing aspect of it came out of necessity because it was like, just the public wanted to hear you.
Well, yeah, that's anything. You know, you put a record out or you do some. I hear Take It Off and Spit Game, and I was getting a lot of support on a lot of the other guys'
Right.
mixtapes. So when they were supporting me and pushing me, it just became natural because like anything else, you're booking the name. You're not really booking the 60 minutes or the 90 minutes. You're more so booking the name. You put all
Well,
these
I
names.
mean, unless you're a scratcher, you're known for that
Right,
and stuff like that. There's a difference between, and let's be honest with you. There's guys that are straight mixers, and then there's guys that are the trick mixers.
right,
And you know what you're getting. And I know in the underground circuit there wasn't any of that scratching. There wasn't any of that trick mixing and stuff like that. There was none of that. It was
right,
basically one song after another, and you're creating a vibe. That's what you're doing.
right,
And
right,
that was in a rave. That's what you
right,
had. So it
right.
wasn't. It was. I think people don't understand that because it's cool. You can do all the what you call, but there's two different levels of this scene when it comes to DJing. And some people, I mean, sometimes you can't in the particular scene. You can't. There's no such thing as scratching and stuff like that, and people will look at you like you're nuts.
Right. But you know what I
So I'm
love?
sure that was part. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It says, but I'm sure I'm sure if you're at a rave that you don't get to hear any of that. So
Well, you know what? That rave scene was fantastic, to be honest with you, and it allowed me to grow, as a DJ, and and it was a good introduction because you got to think, when you speed up the story, I'm on a world tour and not just a regular world tour. I'm on a world tour that's my own company, so I'm not under another brand. My company's brand, and we're doing all types of dates. I'm talking about all summer long. We're resident DJs in Ibiza, for 3 months long every Friday night at El Divino. And then just traveling all over the place outside of that was crazy. Not a lot of people get an opportunity to go play Ibiza consistently and then to go and do that for 3 months straight. Uh, that was something, you know what I mean? So I was excited and incredibly happy to get that opportunity and to really bond and travel with a lot of those guys uh, that I even to this day still call brothers and they family to me. You know what I mean? It was bigger than a tour. It was bigger than everybody making a few dollars. It was about being able to bond and connecting and really appreciating the art and a lot of these guys and their genius creativity.
right. Okay. So now you're in the 2000s, right?
Yep.
Um, 9/11 happens. Am I correct? 9/11.
Yep.
Does that affect you in the business? Does it affect in what you were doing?
9/11. Well, 9/11 was catastrophic for everybody, especially
Right.
here in the United States. That was a lot. And did it affect me? It did. It affected me personally, mentally, and even professionally. But I think like everyone else, we all had to stay strong. We had to figure out the next phase of things and how to uh, you know, recreate our structure and to be more vigilant. Because when that attack happened, we had to think about, man, how is this going to go when it comes down to traveling? Are we going to be in a catch 22? Are we the
Well,
targets?
you understand why I'm asking this question, right? About
Yeah,
9/11,
y-
because
yeah,
what's happening right now. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's why I'm asking it.
yeah.
So,
But I tell you what, the good thing about it, that was one aspect of our whole DJ circle was traveling. But remember, by that time I got, a lot of music out, by that time.
right.
So and not only that, I had a lot of business ventures, where I've made some sound investments. I've also, not only invested, financially, but even my time into a lot of other artists to help groom them and get them in a place where they can also become their own individual entities as well. So I just always dabbled and had my hands in so many things that when those type of instances happen, it didn't affect me as much as it probably would have, a few other people.
Great. So when does SNS come into play to to you?
Oh, well, SNS is special, for me because I've always known Steve. We used to run into each other all the time at different conferences, and it was a mutual respect there. But it was just colleagues bumping into each other on the fly. Um, we were at a grocery store, believe it or not, in the frozen food section because we live, we live in the same area, you know what I mean? So we were at the same, local grocery store. Uh, and we just in that frozen food section, he and his son, and I ran into him and I saw him. I said, "Hey, what's up, Steve? What's going on?" "Oh man, what's going on, Skip? How you doing?" And it was kind of you know, one of those situations where um you know all right, man, we gonna get together, man, it's good seeing you, hit me up. All right, cool, hit me up. It was the Hollywood stuff, and you're like, probably I'll see that guy. I'll see that guy at the next conference. I catch up with him at the next party or some crap. I run into him at a socialite event, and it wasn't that. The type of person that I am, if I give you my word that this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call you tomorrow. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I did. I hit him. I say, "Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? I told you I was gonna call you tomorrow." And it was weird because he like, "Wow, you actually did. That's not music industry ish of you." you know? so I gave him a holler. We talked, and we really shared a lot of common interests. It was bigger than just music for us, even from that point, because we knew of one another. What we were both doing for a living, and within our respective careers, but it had nothing to do with the music. We liked playing basketball. We used to hang out pretty much every day. You ready for this? For almost a year straight. Now, mind you, I'm still traveling like crazy. He traveling. So we would hang out probably from Monday to Thursday. And then Thursday, man, so what's going on? You going somewhere? Yeah, I got to go over to France. I got to go over to Auckland. When you coming back? Man, I'll be back on Tuesday. All right, Tuesday, we catch up. And we did that for almost a year, you know, until it got to a point where it just made more sense to just connect the dots and kind of put something special together because we had similar interests. Our goals were kind of on the same path, and we had a lot of assets, individually. So if we bring all of those together collectively, this is going to be something special. So let's do it. And he saw the value in it, and so did I. And that's where, that's how SNS was born.
Okay, and then you guys are producing music out of SNS Records, right? That's the whole goal of what you guys were doing, correct?
That was our goal. But I tell you what, the big thing with that is back to that again. It was never really about us per se. It was about the company brand, because we realized if we putting SNS together, this is bigger than us, because
Right.
we putting Chicago on our back. We need to figure a way to be inclusive instead of exclusive. So
Okay.
let's reach out to all the guys. Let's put together a project, and let's call it the Chicago LP. It just made sense. Obviously, can't get every single body, but some of the folks that we had direct relationships with, um, it just made sense, for us to do so.
Well,
We
especially
put
because you and Steve had those connections already.
we already had the connection, so we said, well, let's do a double disc, double CD, 33-page full color booklet, swing tray, the whole 9 yards. Let's put that together, and then let's also do a DVD, because I thought it was important, kind of how you and I are talking now. I thought it was
Mhm.
important for a lot of those guys, because I know them, but the world didn't know them. And it was just important for them to be able to tell their story, and for people to kind of get to know them, because they're really nice guys, and they really work incredibly hard. but nobody ever gives them their roses while they can smell them. So I wanted Steve and I both to be the vehicle to kind of dry that a little bit and to give them the opportunity and the platform that we've already created. We could have just went dolo and put Skip and Steve CD full album out, but that wasn't how we were thinking. We were thinking, let's use our platform and hook everybody up. You know, Caesar even tell you we got real close, man, to the point of almost possibly, getting nominated for a Grammy behind that, and included a lot of those guys. We went out to Hollywood, did a big old event at the Key Club for the Grammys. We were there during the Grammys, and it was special to share that moment with a lot of those guys as well.
What year was this that this all happened? What year was
Oh
that?
boy, this was 2000 and something or another. I don't want to be. This is probably around '05, '07, something like that, give or take.
Okay,
No, it was later
okay,
on.
okay. So I mean, so you put this double album together, DVD, CD. You're doing, and how many cities are you doing, or how many? What's kind of the uh, the layout that you guys are hitting with this marketing that you did with this?
For what? For the
For,
CD?
yeah, for the LP and the double LP that you said, the Chicago LP.
Oh well, we had a distributor that we were working with at that point in time. That was they were really progressive as well, and the marketing behind it was simple. It was Chicago and it was Chicago house music. You know what I mean? And our goal was to get that in front of as many people as possible, and to use the resources associated with all of the guys that were a part of the project. That was big for us. So we felt okay. Let's get everybody together. Let's tell their story. And let's put out some good music. And that's gonna to a point market itself, along obviously with some PR companies, et cetera, and so forth. We had people working it. That's how we got that close to the Grammy opportunity. That there was folks on the back end that were really, pushing it through. But I think what it had done was opened up a blueprint to show that Chicago companies aren't crabs in a barrel, and that we're not just self-serving, that we're willing to give our platform to others for the greater good of them creating an opportunity for themselves.
Well, I think a lot of people, and obviously, people that are logging on right here, and there's some people, other cities, and not to take away from people from other cities, but Chicago has a plethora of talent here. They really do. We we got quite a few people that are very talented here, in music wise, and producing wise, and that's been going on for many years. I mean, as far as dance music is concerned here, there's a lot of talent here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Chicago is probably one of the more talented places. And in respect to not to, especially for house music, man, these guys are monsters out here. They're incredible, and they're doing some fantastic work. The young guys are out here doing their thing. The pioneers are still out here moving around and doing their thing, and even the guys in the middle, they're still being very consistent. So that's what's so great about our city and our rich culture of music, is that no matter which one of those you fit in, it's just the thing about being from here. You know what I mean? And being able to absorb some of this rich history.
Great. And I think was it you sent me a couple of tracks that you had come out. Was it about 2 years ago, or that you came out with some more music? Yeah, I know you always sending me music, but I think the last you had, I want to say it was about 2 years ago. I seen another, like, one record after another coming out, and you were sending me some stuff.
Hmm. Oh well,
That was
we're always putting out music, man.
okay.
I've done some music with some fantastic, incredible guys. Fat V, Zonum. and the list goes on and on. You know, Steve Silk Hurley, obviously, and you know, we've just been kind of putting our heads together and really, you know, coming up with something. You know, trying to feed the consumer. You know, and just good music out. It's not like it used to be. The turnover isn't the same. I mean, money is minuscule, so it's one of those deals where it's passion for us. You know, we like music. We enjoy the vibe of how music makes us feel, and we hope it makes others feel the exact same way. So that's why we keep making it. You know, it's almost like our form of therapy, if you will. So,
Well, one of the things that I was real thankful for that you guys remake of the Steve Silk Hurley's Jack Your Body. Yeah, I seen that you guys have remade that
mhm,
modern, I guess modernized the. It's still the same song, but it was, you had a video to it. Obviously, they had a video before, but the one that you had is where you guys were in the club, and I guess you guys are filming. Um, and you added there was some other stuff that you guys added to that, and I think it put a fresh look on some of the old stuff. And I think that was one of the things that I personally I play it all the time at the club.
that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I played it at the club, and and um, we know going back, there's going to be 20 years or 25 years later, obviously, our crowd that was listening to music in 95, they're in their 50s, 40s and 50s, and their kids are into the music now. So that's the
Right,
new generation that's into the
right.
music. And so,
What that's the reason we flipped it, you know.
right,
I think because we had to be mindful that a lot of these you know, music lovers and ears now, they weren't even born when that record came out,
right,
you
right,
know, and to hear it like that, you know, it's nothing like a classic, but you have to almost start from a place and kind of bring them back to it so that they will say, okay, well, where did that come from? You know, like everybody listen to Drake, but they don't realize all of the records that he sampled, you know, come from another origin or another period of time. So for us, that was important. Was how do we make this fresh again? Respect the Dorley. Dorley, you know, blessed us with a dope remix that was fantastic. And respect to all of the producers that did Jack Your Body remixes, because we got a lot of incredible
I
versions
remember
of that Jack Your Body that,
that.
you know, but and the reason we do that, you know, a lot of people were asking, you know, wait, you know, you put out so much music on these packages and you push stuff out. Well, one reason we do it is because we're in a different day and age. It's a different era, you know, and to hear that, you know, a lot of guys, I was one of the people that sat in the record shop for 6 hours sometime, putting the needle on the vinyl and going through a stack of records. Then I narrow it down to a stack of records. Then I go through that stack of records again. Then I narrow it down to a smaller stack of records. Then I go through that stack of records and then decide that I'm gonna buy these 15 or 20 records after I do that. That's an all-day process because you're listening over and over again and deciding, do I want to buy this whole vinyl for that one track? Or if the whole vinyl is good, then that's an easy sell. But sometimes you have to convince yourself. And now we're in a digital age, and people say, "Man, you put too many records on the package." Just hit play at the leisure of your own time. You know, you don't have to go anywhere. You can click it on your phone. And the reason I do that is because, again, our concept of being inclusive, right?
Right.
These records are incredible and they're timeless. And I feel like others should get the same opportunity to be a part of that history, you know. And if we are in a position to give others the opportunity to be a part of that history, that's big for us because we know other companies wouldn't do it. Just being honest, they wouldn't open up Jack Your Body and do that many versions of it and let this person be a part of the history. This is part of their discographies now. This is part of their history now. And that's what music is all about. As an executive, being able to be that inclusive and opening the door for you know, up and coming and even established artists to be able to be a part of that movement is huge because it doesn't necessarily have to just be your favorite record at that point anymore. It can, now you can give us um your impression of the record. You know, now you can give us your take of that project. That's huge. And we hear it, and it may not be for me, but it may be for you or the next person or the next person. So why would we exclude it when we don't have to? We were stuck
Right.
when it came to vinyl and CDs. We only had 80 minutes on the CD, and we only had roughly what, 13 minutes on one side on the vinyl, because you had to lead in and lead out. So we're not restricted by time anymore. I can do 100 records on a package if I
Right.
want to, because it's
Right.
digital.
Correct. 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 So fast forward into this age that we're in, just coming, and then here we are in COVID.
Yeah.
Here we are. Um, how did this tragedy affect you, or how was it as far as, in the, not so much personal but business wise?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How did it how
Well,
did it affect
business wise, obviously it slowed our travels down, you know, well, to a screeching halt, you know.
That's even slower than slow.
Yeah, that's slower than slow. You know, I wanted to be clear about that. Yeah, it slowed it down to a screeching halt. There are no more travels. That's it, you know. No travels here, you know. So so yeah, that's, hey, it don't get any slower than this, you know. This is
Yeah,
still the
other than
turtle
going
race.
backwards.
Yeah, this is it. Oh boy. So yeah, I mean, it pretty much shut that down. But as far as business, you know, we've been moving, man. Like, business has been busier because we're more stable. You know,
Okay,
we've been able to really knock out a lot of projects that we were just too busy to take care of. We were able to lock in and really get in the studio, not even just
right.
individually, but sometime to help develop a lot of these producers and artists, and put them in a position to win. That's been key for us, is to be able to uh lend um lend our brands to other individuals to associate, so that they can expand their brand, and now we just have more time to do
Right.
it, more time to really listen to music, more time to put more music out, and really focus on the long term goal opposed to the short term goal. I'm not saying that we were
I
prepared for this, but we were
no, but
we're, we're
I
okay.
think I think because you guys were, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys are dealing with studio producers, as opposed to, let's say, somebody who's a live performer, a live, because they rely on the live aspect of it. Where you
Right,
guys are in the studio, and again, you said about the digital age, it's much easier to exchange, and much easier because you're all, and and sometimes you were isolated anyway,
right,
in a sense,
right,
because they're doing
right,
the work. So it
right.
kind of, it just fell into place kind of for you guys, as a because of this, and I think you're right about that, where it kind of forced your hand into basically saying, okay, we don't have no excuse but to do it this way now. So because we
Right,
have no other obstacles,
right, right.
obstacle meaning time not to do it.
Well,
So we don't have that.
yeah, well, it gave us a lot of time to really jump in and do a lot of different
Right.
things, like, for example, clothing. We right now, we're probably only wearing our own stuff.
Right.
We got, pretty much our clothing. We're pushing the merchandise and apparel. We're also pushing music, obviously. We got a few other things kind of, in the back burner as well, that we're getting ready to, push forward. But right now, that's the thing. We decided to push so many different brands out here on our end. It was important, because now we can focus a little more and really get it out and pay close attention to it. You know, we don't want to put our names behind something that doesn't um that's not right. You know what I mean? And that was important for us, because we had opportunities to do it before. We consulted with people, about the garment and the whole 9 yards. These shirts feel fantastic, you know, and the music, man, we're pushing a lot of the catalog items, and we're able to compile it and put it out there. Some of these records have never been even released. Ralph Rosario, Jamie Principle, and the list Ann Nesby, the list goes on. And that's special to be able to get this music out to the public and for people to really connect the dots and be reintroduced to it for the ones that don't know it, and the ones that know it to kind of go back down memory lane on, I remember I remember when I played that record, I remember when that record came out. And then for the young folks, it's like, wow, this is incredible, I love this music, because now they're getting a new run of it. So that's
Right.
where we are right now. We're kind of serving two different audiences, from the same place.
So are you doing anything live streaming or anything with because of this as well for your personally?
You know what? We have been live streaming quite a bit. Steve's been doing, the majority of it, and just going out there. We did the city of Chicago, the mayor's stream, and just did a stream from New Jersey, and got a few others planned. But again, everyone's still trying to figure that whole live stream thing out, just because they're muting content, they're shutting it
Yeah.
down because of the licensing. But hopefully down the road they get that fixed, and we can all kind of get out there, either get that fixed or get this issue rectified, so that we can kind of get back to whatever the new normal is actually going to be.
Yeah, and in turn, I just want to remind everyone that, thank you, Shannon, for this together because tomorrow I'll be interviewing Steve Still Curly. So thank you for that. That was Skip who put that together for me. So thank you very much. And
That's
then,
awesome.
you know, we're coming past our hours. So for all those people that logged on, anything you want to say to them or anything you want to say in closing?
Oh man, listen, I appreciate everyone, and I'm humbled by the fact that they even, logged on and they rocking with us, and listening to the interview, man. Like I said, I've always had a great deal of respect for you and your work, and your marketing schemes and projects. I love the way you go about presenting, your events and even your brand. That's special to me, man. And I just want to tip my hat and show that respect to you, because I think a lot of times, you know, people feel as if it's a thing to show love or show respect to the next guy, or give them their roses while they can still smell them. And dude, you deserve it, man. I see you got your silent disco coming up. I'm excited about that. That's pretty special too. So,
Thank you.
not
Thank
just
you.
not just on my end, but man, I hope people, you guys go out and support. If you haven't been to anything that Angelo Prieto or his company has put together, you definitely want to go out there and check this out. And no, he didn't pay me to say this. This is genuine. you know, this is genuine. And like I say, I'm gonna come out there, man, and come kick it with you. I told you, I still want to come out there to that event. I
Well,
always give him grief every time I talk to him or I see him. Man, I'm gonna come out there. I'm a salsa dance. I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do bachata. We gonna come hang out. And I always tell him that, and I'm gonna pop up on him.
well, I don't know if I'm also doing things to make sure everything's safe around for my clientele as well. And it's a tricky situation. I don't know if you've seen that we had to move the date back to August 2nd because out what to do. So lucky for us, we got all the permits, all the insurance, we got everything like it's supposed to be. And it looks like it's going to, so it's locked in. Even the forest preserve people are excited for us. They
Oh wow.
really want this to work. Their own staff are like, dude, this is a phenomenal idea. We like this. So I think that even there's going to even be a couple of the forest preserve staff out there as well, because people want to see this happen. They want to experience this. This is something, it's new, and obviously, like I told you before, I've done this already in over there at Alhambra. So this is, to me, is yeah, I've done it before, but this is different, and I'm doing it for the different reasons. And I think that everybody gets it. And if you haven't got it, again, you will get it because obviously we're going to be streaming it and we're going to do all this stuff over there and let people know that we're there. And it's limited space because of the fact we don't want it to be, we don't want 1,000 people in the place. Honestly, that's it. We're doing it the right way. And we just want to make sure that, that if there's headphones, that's our party right there. That's it. That's all as far as the Grove is, but Grove is, 3 football fields long, so it's all good. You're coming out here and,
Oh no,
and closing in on, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
oh no, no, no. Your the signal was chopping, but now you back. So no, I heard what you were saying though.
Okay. So thank you very much. And everybody else that logged in, please, don't forget, Shannon, I want, make sure to put links on the bottom of everything as far as your company, as far as anything to get the records and everything else. Please put it on the bottom of the,
Absolutely. And then before you take off, man, respect to the Hot Mix Five and all of these guys that's out here still representing. I got great love for a lot of the pioneers, the foundation of this music, man. So mad love and respect to them. If you don't know who these guys are, look them up. Find out a lot about them because each individual is a different personality. They brought something special and unique and fresh to the game. You know, and just give them that rite of passage, man. We got to start
oh,
loving and respecting all of the guys while they still here, because I mean, look at the times that we're living in. Let's
great.
all celebrate and love, and let's all pay homage, to one another, man, and give that respect that each and every one want to receive in return. That's just big.
And I forgot to mention this, that you just said that, man. Didn't you just receive a Lifetime Achievement Award on
I did.
Saturday?
I did actually. I did actually. That's kind of cool. And like I said, I'm humbled by that because it's really cool when you get the opportunity to be recognized by your peer group. And when you think about the years, they go in a blink of an eye. You know, I'm looking at, we were counting it back. Steve and I were laughing earlier, and he's been, doing music obviously a little longer than I have. But the fact that I'm going on close to 30 years doing music professionally. I'm at 27 now. That's crazy. So maybe I just dated myself by accident. But I've been doing it for a while, and to still be here and to still try to run a business and be consistent in doing it and still be that same guy. For all the people that know me legit, my number hasn't changed. I'm actually the guy that you call my phone, I answer it. And I don't know if
Right.
that's sometimes the gift and the curse of it, but I feel if someone took the time out of their day to reach out to you for whatever it is, out of respect, even if I'm busy, I at least try to get them the common courtesy to say, hey, I'm a little busy right now, guys, or I'll call you back and try my best to if things don't pile up on me. But you know, I just feel like a lot of people say you should be more exclusive. Don't answer the phone, just send them the voicemail. But it's just not my personality. It's not who I am. Because
Uh,
I mean, people when they reaching out, man, they reaching out, with a degree of respect and humility to say, hey, I need this, or if you can send me in this direction for that, or maybe sometimes they just need to connect the dots, and it could be beneficial for you. You never know, but you won't know if you just shrug them off and not be direct with them and inclusive. We want to embrace everybody, and we want folks to win. Like when other people win, I'm I'm overjoyed by it because that's our goal. We want to move in the mindset of a winner's mindset, and we want all of the people around us to be in that same mindset because it's bigger than us. It's a genre of music, and it's a city, which is Chicago.
right. Well, and it's a culture of music too. So
Yeah,
that's important as well. So,
better believe
all
it.
right, guys. Yeah. So thank you very much, Skip, everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good night, guys. Thank
All
you.
right, peace.